Good morning, everybody. I'm Christopher Smith. I am the lead advisor for Steampost 26 in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and I'm going to walk you through our setup for Android Studio and with the FIRST Tech Challenge SDK in Android Studio and show you the process. And this is what we're using for our summer programming class, which should also help you throughout the season. So first thing I'm going to do is open up my browser, and we're going to do a search for let's do Android Studio download, just like that. I'll do a search here on Android Studio, and you should see the developer.androidstudio.com pop up here. So we're going to go to this download, and we are going to make sure you're in the right place, developer.androidstudio.com, and then just click on the download Android Studio. You'll have to read the terms, agree to them, and then download them. And you'll see that this is about an 872 meg file. I've got a pretty fast connection here, so it's going to download it pretty quickly. But if you need to, you can pause the video and you can come back to it. The other thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to say go ahead and open when done. That way it's going to pop up and we'll get going. You see the bar here, it's getting pretty close, so it shouldn't take too long. So it's opening. I'm going to minimize that so we can see this pop up on our screen. Now, just so you know, I already have Android Studio installed on my computer, so I'm not going to actually run through the process of fully installing it now. I'm just going to show you how you get to the point and do the things you need to do. But you'll get to this screen and you'll follow through, click through next until it says it's ready to install. I don't want it to install my current version or make any changes, but you should be able to set it up. Now, when you launch it, it's probably going to ask for updates and whatnot, but and you'll want to probably run through the updates. But after you get it downloaded, I'm going to go ahead and open this up. And what we want to do is we want to just open up a dummy Android Studio project. And I don't really care what we open up. We're just going to open it up. And really the goal here is we want to make sure that the SDKs are set up the way that we want them to be for Android Studio. So I'm going to close those tips there. You'll notice it's set up here. What I want you to do is I want you to come up to the corner here in the upper right-hand corner. There's a box with it's a blue arrow, kind of looks green, could be either color. And what's happening right now, just so you know, there's stuff happening on the side here. It's building Gradle and doing some other things. Don't worry about any of that. Just come over here to the SDK, and where you want to browse to is that whenever you open this, I don't know what state it's going to be because I've already installed mine, and it remembers the last place I've been. But go under System Settings, and then go to Android SDK, and you'll notice there's a big long list of stuff here. A lot of funny names like gingerbread and ice cream sandwich and jelly bean and so forth. Kit Kat. Those are all SDKs associated with Android Studio. So what you want to do is you want to do Android 9.0 and Android 10.0. And probably for next season, you'll need to do R as well. Some people install that. I don't have it installed right now, but at some point I'll probably install it. But once it's done, those are there, just click apply and let it go through and install the packages. Now, again, they're going to be large downloads. It's going to take some time, so you may want to pause the video, go make yourself a cup of tea and grab a scone, and then come back and you can finish up the next piece. So once we're done here, actually what I want to do is I want to just close this project. This project is nothing to us, so we can just close that out. And the next thing we're going to do is go back to our browser. And what we need to do now is we've got Android Studio, it's installed, we've got our SDKs, they're set up. So now what we're going to do is we are going to download the SDK for FIRST Tech Challenge. And Game Changers isn't out, and even if it was out, it's going to be updated several times. So what we're going to do is we're going to focus on the Skystone SDK. So we're going to do FTC Skystone SDK. So that's FIRST Tech Challenge Skystone SDK up in the search bar. And the first result that comes up here should be the correct one. So click on that. It's, just so you know, it's github.com FIRST Tech Challenge /Skystone. And the thing I want you to do is I want you to scroll down here and look at the notice. And this notice says this repository contains the public FTC SDK for Skystone competition season, the 2019-2020. Now, it also says formally the software project was hosted here. If you don't see it, if it doesn't say exactly this, you're probably in the wrong place. So let's make sure you get in the right place because we want you to be working from the same SDK. What they did was they deprecated the old location for Skystone, and they've created a new one. And that's just because of some things that were going on, I think, with the size of the SDK and so forth. They needed to make sure they were in compliance with GitHub's requirements. So then scroll back up and you'll see the green box here, code. And what we're going to do is we're just going to click on download. And this is going to download the zip file. We could set this up so that we could sync with GitHub and pull it down through GitHub. But the reality is that we'll want to set that up later, and we'll set that up as a different video. But this is just about getting your environment set up for programming. So now that we're here, let's do this. Let's go ahead and do a show in folder. And this popped up on a different screen here, so I'm bringing it over here. And before we do anything here, so this is in my, just so you know, this is in my downloads directory. So you can look up here, it's in my downloads directory, we're good there. So I'm going to open up, use the window key and E for Explorer. And I'm just going to open up a new location. I just want to make sure I have a place to put this, unzip this to. So we're going to go down here to programming, and I've created a folder called 2020 class. You can call it whatever you want to, it doesn't really matter, but just so that this is set up. So what I'm doing here is now I've got my an empty folder here. So I can come back over to my Skystone master. I can grab the entirety of this in this folder here, and we're going to open this up and unzip it to that directory. And it's a pretty large unzip. So the zip file is about 144 meg, and then the directory here is probably a couple hundred meg or so. So now we're done with this. We can close this, but I want you to keep this window right here open for just a second, because what I want you to do is I want you to click up here, and I want you to do a Control-C. I want you to copy that address right there, and that'll just make this easier for opening the project. Now, go ahead and minimize everything, and let's get back to our Android Studio. If you closed your Android Studio, you can just come down to the search bar and do a quick Android Studio and then reopen it. But what you should end up with is your project that you had created before should be, and I'm going to kill that because we don't need that. So I'm going to start a new Android Studio project. No, that's not what I want to do. What I want to do is I want to open an existing Android Studio project. And up here in the address bar, what I want to do is I'm going to do a Control-V and paste in that location. And what you're going to see is my 2020 class comes up here. I'm going to expand that, and then I'm going to find my Skystone master. And if you wanted to, you could change the Skystone master to something else. And I'm going to go ahead and open this up. So that's going to open, and it's going to build a Gradle for that and so forth. And you can hit close on the screen here. But now let's bring this back up here. This is our Explorer. So while our Gradle is being built, we're going to do a little bit more work over here. And I'm just going to set up some directories here. And you can do this inside of Android Studio. I just prefer to do it this way because I think it's less confusing. But what we're going to do is we're going to go into Skystone Master and then go down to find the team code. And when you find the team code, you're going to end up opening up the top option on every one of these until you get all the way back down to team code again. You're going to open this up. So what you'll see is I have team code, source, main, Java, org, FIRST Inspires, FTC, and team code. And it gets you pretty far down in, but what we want to do is set it up that way. So now what we're going to do is we're going to create some new folders. And this is just going to help us organize things. So this is the way I like to set this up. It's not necessarily the only way to do it, but to me, it can get it exactly the way I want it. So the first folder we're going to do is we're going to create a folder that's going to be for our hardware. And this is where we're going to build our hardware profile. And we'll store it in that location. Then we're going to do another folder. And this folder is going to be our libraries. So we create special libraries. We're going to stick those into this folder. So I'm going to define my hardware, put the hardware definition into the hardware folder. I'm going to build special classes. And this could be like my Mecanum drive class. This could be, or my drive Mecanum is actually the way I refer to it, class. If I'm doing odometry and I'm building special libraries for odometry, then I would put that in this class. And so I would do anything special, right? If I'm going to do Vuforia, I'm building special libraries for Vuforia or TensorFlow or OpenCV or whatever. Those go into that particular library folder. And let's do one more, and this last one's going to be our op modes, capital OPMODs. And this is where we're going to put our programs that that we'll actually store on our phone, that we'll call and select. So with this here, this should build our environment. So what we want to do is we want to come back over here, come back to Android Studio, and let's just go down to our team code and expand this out. And then what you're going to see here is we have our org.firstinspires.ftc.teamcode, and we have our 3 folders that we just created. And all of these are empty as of right now. They're completely empty. And we'll just be able to come in here and start creating new Java classes. So you should be ready to create those Java classes whenever they get started. So with that, we are pretty much set up and completed in doing our environment. Now we're ready to start programming. So what I want to do is, and I see I got an update here. I'm probably going to run through the update, make sure everything's up to date with my Android Studio. But from there, I'm pretty much done. So I'm ready to get started. So we'll see you guys on the next session.